Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Follow our entire network here at Locked On Sports Atlanta at Locked On ATL. Of course, all the other shows on this network. Absolutely a great band of folks that we have here. And certainly the shows are getting more popular by the day as we're over 2,000 YouTube subscribers already. But you can check out every other show on the network. A to Z, of course, with me, Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis and Tanisha Batiste. Our Braves postcast after every Braves game that comes up right here on this site, as well as Locked On Falcons and Locked On Hawks. And coming up next, by the way, more trade rumors swirling in the NBA that should have the Hawks scurrying for something to happen. That's coming up here. But I wanted to start a conversation because you know I am somebody who, when it comes to postseason awards, I don't necessarily get wrapped up in um, the process of the whole thing. But I understand voter bias and voter fatigue and all these other things. And some of this conversation is predicated, simply on the idea that I am like so over Shohei Ohtani being named in the MVP discussion this year. Last year, I think he deserved it. 46 home runs, over 100 RBIs. Those are numbers that MVPs typically have and win it. Last year, from a pitching standpoint, he was very, very good. This year, he does not have any offensive numbers worth speaking of. He does not have any pitching numbers that are eye popping over the top. I think he's like 9-2 now, or maybe it's 9-3 after the loss of the Braves. But his ERA is around 3. Nothing special, and we continue to have him as the favorite to win the AL MVP again. Which, when you look at the season that Aaron Judge is having, is absolutely laughable. I find it odd that there is a guy who, offensively, if you did a blind resume and put his numbers in there, you would be like, there's no way this guy is going to be the MVP. And from a blind resume of his pitching numbers, you'd be like, there's no way this guy is going to be the Cy Young. But yet somehow we're going to make him the AL MVP just because he does both of them. Shocker, before 1973, pitchers used to do that all the time. Hit and pitch. Wow, crazy. Nonetheless, so I think there's a sense of uh, overrated is not the right word because I don't think Otani's overrated. I just think that there is a sense of oh well, we have to give it to him. And by the measure of what he does, considering he's the only guy who does it, well then guess what? He theoretically should win the MVP every single year when you talk about value of a guy because you can actually get a whole other roster spot on your team with Otani and have 6 starters or 5. I mean, you just is again understand the value of what it is. I don't need to go into it. I think if you're been paying attention to baseball for the past year, you understand what I'm talking about. Now, what I said a moment ago about you know the Otani numbers, I think bears itself out in the NL MVP race. And I ask you a question: can somebody win the MVP who does not lead the league in any statistical offensive category? I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but Austin Riley would fit that mold. And Austin Riley right now doesn't lead baseball in any offensive category, I think, other than total bases. And I checked this over the weekend. I don't know if it had changed between Saturday and Sunday. But other than that, not top 5 in batting average, not top 5 in home runs, not top 5 in RBIs. He's got all really good numbers across the board. Not OPS, not slugging, not on base percentage, whatever. He just doesn't have numbers that are in the top 5 in anything. But it's like, how is this guy not going to be considered for the MVP? Oh, by the way, and this is from our good friend Grant McCauley as part of our Braves postcast, but his July has been absolutely insane. First in Major League Baseball in home runs, first in slugging percentage, first in OPS, first in hits, first in extra base hits. He is second in average. He's second in RBIs and second in runs. That's a really good July. And Austin Riley is starting to put together a campaign that should, again, warrant MVP consideration. But again, it's one of those things where it's like there are 2 things going against him. One, again, as I just said, he's not leading the league in any major offensive category. I mean, you can pick F WAR and BOBIP and FIPS and WRC plus and all those things. Great. The nerds will win. That said, those aren't the ones that really, sort of move the needle when it comes to MVP voters, especially since a lot of baseball voters are, older guys who aren't into the newer nerd stuff that is out there. They just kind of look at average home runs and RBIs and runs and hits and say, yeah, there you go. There's the MVP. So I think that hurts him. But I also think the other thing, and this may hurt him a little bit more, he's not the biggest name on his own team. That belongs to Ronald Acuna. He might not even be the second biggest name on his own team. That may be Dansby Swanson. Um, so it's a problem for Austin because part of getting votes in the MVP, right, wrong, or indifferent, is you have to be part of the public conscience. You ask 100 non-Braves fans to name a Brave, about 95 I'm going to go Ronald Acuna. Maybe one or two other ones will pick somebody else. What can I tell you? Heck, some people might pick Spencer Strider because he's gotten more of a sort of air about him, given what he's done from a pitching standpoint. And Austin Riley right now is I think he's like the fifth favorite at 17-1 odds to win the NL MVP. He's going to have a better season than pretty much mostly everybody overall. But yet he's not going to lead in any major category, and I think that's going to hurt him. But this is a guy now that for the second year in a row now is going to finish definitively in the top 10 of MVP voting. Might be top 5. I think last year he finished 7th, I want to say, or was it 5th? I got to go back and look. But nonetheless, this is a guy for the second straight year now that is going to be top 5 in MVP voting and should be top 5 in MVP voting when it's all said and done. If he's not, the voters are missing something. Now, again, Riley still has time to turn it on and put up some eye-popping numbers the rest of the second half, maybe carry his team, maybe help them overtake the Mets, and all those things. And I think it's valid. And if he does, he's certainly going to garner some more consideration for it. But, his former teammate leads Major League Baseball in hits, that Freddie Freeman guy. And I keep saying Freddie who because it's fun. Even though Matt Olson leads the league in doubles, I think, at this point. Regardless, Riley is going to start to put together perennial MVP type seasons like this. Eventually, he's going to get there. And remember, he didn't make the All-Star game this year on his own. He had to be sort of dragged into it after a couple of other guys stepped out. Like, these are all things, unfortunately, for voters that are in the public conscience that people seem to forget about. If you go ask again 100 non-Braves fans, tell me 2 of the third basemen that made the All-Star team. Nobody's picking Riley. They're just not. They'll say Machado and Arenado and whoever else is out there. It's just the way it is. But I say all this again to sort of pump up the Austin Riley MVP conversation. And wouldn't it be something if he won the MVP without being top 3 in any major statistical category in the National League, let alone Major League Baseball? That, to me, is something that should raise an eyebrow about how good Austin Riley is, because he's maybe not dominant in one category. He's just really good in every category. And that's the kind of guy that, you can build around. So Braves will start a series with the Phillies tonight, try to bounce back after the bad Ian Anderson start, and we'll see where that goes as they have to start, staying where they are. And they're now, a game and a half behind the Mets. I think they gained a game over the weekend and really start to try to figure out a way to push over this thing. Not the time to lose games to the Philadelphia Phillies. Coming up next, what is going on in the NBA and how it affects the Atlanta Hawks? And why is their name still being bandied about for one particular player? We'll discuss that coming up next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta.